Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Adrian here at All Booked Up. Today we are doing a tag video. So this is a tag that I got tagged in quite a long time ago. I've got a bit of a backlog here. So this I got tagged in by Alan over at the Library of Alexandria. He's a great guy, really good channel, absolutely love it. So thanks Alan for the tag, and this is the Universes Collide book tag. I watched Alan's video on this when it came out a month and a half ago, and I have not looked at the questions since. So I'm going to be cutting a lot of ums and ers and sitting here thinking from this video, and hopefully give you some good concise answers that you're going to enjoy. So let's jump straight in with question number 1, which is the switch up. Choose 2 protagonists from 2 different series that you'd love to see swap. Okay. So 2 protagonists from 2 different series that I would love to see swap. Right, I've got an answer here, and it might be that I'm a little bit too biased by what I've read recently, but I would love to see Emily Marshwick from Guns of the Dawn, who is a brilliant character written by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I absolutely love her. I would love to see her swapped with Falkio Valmond from The Greatcoats. I think they both have a sense of righteousness, both have a sense of doing the right thing even if it costs, which I think is really interesting. I think that the horrors of war that Emily goes through would make her an interesting replacement as first Cantor of the Greatcoats, as well as how she'd interact with the characters there. I think that'd be super interesting, how Brasti particularly would cope with her as a character and the way she is, her very stiff upper lip. I think Brasti would find that very strange. I'd love to see how she would interact with some of the other female characters from the Greatcoats as well. And then I think Falkio put into that same situation that Emily was put into in Guns of the Dawn would be really interesting. Just the horrors of war, where he's used to duels, but he's not used to this slightly more modern military, grueling, just plodding war, especially through the swamps that Emily was in. I think that would be a really interesting, different context for both of those characters. So, question number 2, V is for villainy. Choose a villain that you would like to see get their own story. Okay, a villain who I'd love to see get their own story. Oh, there is so much I want to say about the Cosmere here that would be massive spoilers, but for those of you who have read the Cosmere, there is a villain who has already got their own story who I am really, yeah, I love it. Anyway, moving on.
I really don't know what my answer should be.
I've got one. Do you know who I would love to, what villain I would love to see actually get their own story proper? And that would be the Jackal from the Red Rising series. I think it would be really interesting to see exactly what he's been doing, what happens. I've only read the initial trilogy here. I've not actually carried on with it yet. But I think following the Jackal through what happens in book 1 and 2 and 3 would be really interesting. I think he's an interesting, if somewhat tormented character, and I think that would be a very dark but very interesting character to follow from a different perspective. Question number 3, the adaptation. Choose a character or story that exists in another type of media you'd like to see novelized. Whew. Do you know what? I thought this would be a hard question, but actually I know what it is, and it's something that has started to happen a little bit. I don't know how many of you guys are into role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games, but I absolutely loved watching Critical Role. Now, unfortunately, I have not managed to keep up with it. It takes a lot of time every week if you're going to watch all of them, and I'm sort of stuck a third of the way through the second season here. But that first season of Critical Role, you guys go look it up if you don't know anything about it. It's a Dungeons and Dragons campaign ran by a bunch of voice actors who stream it every week, and it's great fun. They have released sort of the origin stories for their first season in a set of comic books, which I read the first few of and are pretty good, but I would love to see a novelised form of that, taking that story from a role-playing game, bringing it to a novel. Some of those characters are amazing. I would read the hell out of that, absolutely. So anyone who's a Critical Role fan, you can agree with me, we would totally read that all day. I think it would be amazing. Question number 4, the crossover. So choose 2 characters from 2 universes you'd love to see in a crossover. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Right, I've got an answer for this. I would love to see a buddy cop style comedy book featuring Harry Dresden and Brasty from the Greatcoats. Brasty Goodbow, the funniest member of the Greatcoats, one of the funniest characters I have read this year. I absolutely adore Brasty, he's amazing. He does work particularly well because he has the straight man next to him in Kest, but I would love to see him and Harry Dresden in a universe somewhere trying to solve crimes and help people. I think the snarky wiseassery of Harry Dresden combined with the sheer stupidity and hilarity of Brasty Goodbow would make a brilliant, an absolutely brilliant comedy, probably absurdist fantasy book. So yeah, that would be my crossover I would like to see. Question number 5 is the tonal shift. Choose a story you would like to give a different tone or genre to. So a different tone or genre to a book I have read. Oh dear, this is a difficult one. Different tone or genre for a book. So here you go, for the Cosmere fans out there who've read Elantris. So this is Brandon Sanderson's first published work. I really love Elantris, I think it's very interesting. It is, however, supremely optimistic, and that's because we follow Raoden, who is, despite all that happens to him that is terrible, he is relentlessly optimistic. I think it would be very interesting to get Elantris with the entirely opposite tone. So we could have exactly the same story beats pretty much, but you could tone this very differently. If Raoden was a pessimist, if he wasn't the eternal ray of sunshine optimist that he is, it would be a very different feeling book. It would be much darker, much grittier, much more difficult to read. I'm not sure I'd like it as much or more so, but I think it would be really interesting. So yeah, if we could have Elantris, but with sort of the dark, gritty reality that would come without the eternal optimism that is Raoden, I think that would be really interesting, although not necessarily fitting with the Cosmere very well. And final question for this tag is tag somebody or tag some people. So there are a few people who I want to tag who I don't think have done this tag yet. I'm quite late to the party, so I know a lot of people have, but I would like to tag Erin over at The Ramblin' Reader. I want to tag Dry Bucks, and as well as that, I would like to tag She Was Only Evie over there. I'm sure she has probably been tagged many times in this already, but I've not seen her do a video on it yet. So yeah, those 3 guys, I'd love to see your thoughts on this. I think it's a really interesting tag. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like, subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and I will hopefully see you guys soon.